Rain blurred the streetlights into halos. Thomas Reeve sat in a dark sedan at the end of the block, staring at the second-floor window with the blue nightlight, proof that somewhere inside a child was still asleep and trusting. Leon Mercer's words looped in his head like a threat disguised as instruction. Take the kid, bring him to the warehouse, that's it. Welcome to Shadows of Justice, where crime meets compassion. If you are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. For returning viewers, thanks for sticking to the channel. Thomas was 32, broke, and trapped under a death that didn't come with mercy. He told himself it was one job, one ugly moment, and then he could crawl out of the hole. He told himself a lot of things. A door opened under the blue window. A woman stepped out with a grocery bag, shoulders hunched against the rain. Beside her, a small boy in a puffy jacket ran ahead, splashing through puddles toward an old hatchback. He tugged the passenger door. It wouldn't open. He looked back at his mother, calm and confused, waiting for the world to explain itself. Thomas's stomach twisted. He got out. He crouched to the boy's height, forcing a friendly face. "Hey, your mom asked me to help. The door's stuck." The lie came too easily. He hated that. The boy blinked up at him. "My mom?" Thomas nodded. "Yeah. What's your name?" "Eli," said Eli. "Eli Warren." A name. A person. Not the kid. Thomas held out his hand. "Come on, let's get you out of the rain." Eli hesitated, then placed his small hand in Thomas's, warm, trusting. Behind them, Eli's mother looked up, and the scream that ripped out of her was pure terror. Thomas shoved Eli into the passenger seat, slammed the door, and started the engine. Eli began to cry, sharp and panicked, as Thomas drove away without looking back. If he looked back, he might stop, and Leon Mercer punished people who stopped. The warehouse district smelled like old concrete and old oil. Leon's building sat near the river, one security light flickering above the steel door. Thomas parked and stared at the rain on the windshield, listening to Eli's hiccuping sobs. Eli's voice was small. "Are you going to hurt me?" Thomas turned. The question landed like a weight. "No," Thomas said. "No, I'm not going to hurt you." He found a candy bar in the glove compartment, forgotten, half melted, and broke it in two. Eli took it with shaking hands, biting down like the sweetness could build a wall between him and fear. Then the warehouse door banged open. Leon Mercer stepped out with two men behind him. Leon wore expensive confidence and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He leaned into Thomas's window. "Well," said Leon, "you actually did it." Thomas's mouth went dry. "He's here." Leon's gaze slid to Eli. "Hey, champ." Then to Thomas. "Bring him inside." Thomas didn't move. Leon's smile thinned. "Don't tell me you got feelings." "He's a kid," Thomas said quietly. Leon's eyes hardened. "He's leverage." One of Leon's men stepped toward the passenger door. Something in Thomas snapped, not heroism, just a final refusal to cross the last line. He started the engine. Leon's head lifted. "Thomas!" The car lurched forward, tires skidding on wet pavement. Eli yelped. Leon shouted behind them, but the sound dissolved into rain. Thomas drove without a plan, only away. His phone buzzed again and again until a message flashed, "Bring him back or I'll bury you." Thomas believed it like gravity, but he believed something else now, too. If he delivered Eli, the boy wouldn't just be taken, he'd be broken. He exited at a gas station and pulled behind the building where the lights were dim.
He shut off the engine and turned to Eli. "Listen," Thomas said, forcing steadiness. "I did something terrible, but I'm going to fix it." Eli's lips trembled. "I want my mom." "You're going to see her," Thomas whispered. Behind the station was a small park drowning in rain and neglect. Near the fence stood a payphone, rusted but still there, like the world left one thin thread of help in place. Thomas wrapped a blanket around Eli's shoulders, led him through the wet grass, and dialed 911. "I need to report a kidnapping," Thomas said. "Sir, what's your location?" Thomas looked at Eli, eyes huge, pleading. "I have the child," he said. "I'm the one who took him."
The silence on the line felt like judgment. Then the operator's voice turned sharp and fast. "Stay on the line. Do not hang up." Thomas gave the location, described Eli, the sedan, everything. He spoke quickly, terrified Leon's people would arrive first. Sirens came within minutes, cutting through the mist. Police approached with guns drawn. A female officer knelt beside Eli, speaking softly as she wrapped him in a dry jacket. Eli stared at Thomas like he couldn't understand how the same hands could steal and return. Thomas was cuffed. The metal closed around his wrists with a final click, and Thomas felt a strange relief. Not because he deserved less, but because he finally stopped pretending he could escape consequences. As he was pushed into the cruiser, Eli looked back once. Their eyes met through rain and distance, fear, confusion, and a question too big for a child to ask. Then the doors shut. Thomas was sentenced to 15 years. He served them quietly, working in the prison library, reading about trauma and fear, learning in painful detail what one night could plant inside a family. He didn't excuse himself. He didn't rewrite the story. He carried it. Years later, the chaplain handed him an envelope from a victim outreach program. Inside was a child's drawing, Rain, a small boy, and a stick figure holding a candy bar. Eli Warren was written at the bottom. The letter was short. "I remember the rain. My mom says you were bad, but you called the police. Are you sorry?" Thomas wrote back that night, "Yes, I'm sorry. You don't owe me forgiveness. I hope you find peace, even if you never write again." Eli wrote for a while, about rain on car windows, about parking lots, about his mother locking the door twice. Thomas answered with the truth, never asking for comfort, never asking to be seen as good. Then the letters stopped. When Thomas got out, older and gray, he found work cleaning a community center. He kept his life small. He didn't try to contact Eli. He didn't deserve that right. But the question, "Is he okay?" never loosened its grip. Years passed. Then, one afternoon, a young man walked into the lobby and asked, "Thomas Reeve?" Thomas turned and felt the air change. The man was tall, lean, with blue-gray eyes that made Thomas's chest tighten. "It's me," the man said quietly. "Eli." Thomas's hands began to shake. "You found me." Eli nodded once. "I did." "I'm not here to forgive you," Eli said, "and I'm not here to punish you. I just needed to see you as a real person, not a shadow in my memory." Thomas swallowed. "Okay." Eli's voice tightened. "My mom died last year. She never stopped being afraid. Rain made her flinch. Parking lots made her panic." Thomas's eyes filled. "That was my fault." "Yes," Eli said steadily, "and I needed you to hear it." Thomas nodded, tears slipping free. "Thank you for telling me." Eli paused, then asked the question that had lived between them for decades. "Why did you let me go?" Thomas inhaled shakily. "Because when I looked at you, I realized you were a child, not leverage, and I didn't want to be the man who destroyed your belief that the world could be safe." Eli's eyes glistened. He blinked hard. "I became a counselor for kids because I kept thinking maybe people can stop,
Maybe they can change. Thomas couldn't speak for a moment. Eli held out his hand, not forgiveness, not friendship, something simpler and braver, an ending without silence. Thomas took it gently. The handshake was brief, careful, heavy with what couldn't be undone. "It's supposed to rain tomorrow," Eli said, glancing toward the window. Thomas's chest tightened. "I'm trying to learn rain can just be rain," Eli added. Thomas nodded, voice barely there. "I hope you can." Eli released his hand and stepped back. "I stopped writing because I needed to live without you in my life, but I didn't want the last chapter to be silence." "Thank you," Thomas whispered. Eli left. The next day, rain arrived, steady, ordinary, almost gentle. Thomas opened the community center early, turned on the lights, and watched kids come in laughing, shaking umbrellas, alive. Redemption, he understood, wasn't a clean ending. It was a long practice, telling the truth, doing the quiet work, and letting the person you hurt decide what closure looks like. Outside, rain kept falling. Inside, the lights stayed on.
This is Shadows of Justice, where crime meets compassion. Subscribe for more emotional true crime and redemption storytelling, where every scar tells a story worth hearing.